Kia ora, this is Chris with Earth Sciences New Zealand, meteorologist Chris Brandolino here. Look, we are giving you an update on what is expected over the next 24 to 48 hours. Recording this around 2:30 Monday afternoon on the 28th of July. And you know what? We're deciding to call this a podcast simply because I tend to talk. It's a blessing and a curse. And there's a lot of content to talk about. It's a bit longer form, so let's call it a podcast. No matter what you call it, hopefully it's useful. Hopefully it's something that you can use to inform yourself as to what's happening with our weather. And with our weather, we are dealing with another atmospheric river. So this is Tuesday morning. Heavy rain will be falling across much of the top of the South Island. I'm sorry to say. Heavy rain will be approaching Northland and over parts of the far north in Northland. Expect a wet commute in Auckland. I'll talk about Auckland in a moment, but there's plenty to talk about here, so no shortage of material or content. Let's show you the weather setup. I do want to go to a different model. I'm going to go to our a little bit coarser model, NZ Lam, but it does have a bigger domain or a bigger slice of the real estate we cover, and it goes out an extra day. So what's important here is to show you the source of our moisture. It's coming from the tropics and subtropics. So when I put humidity on, not the best thing to use, but we'll go with it. So let me back this up a little bit. You can plainly see, when you look at this, you can plainly see this kind of one band of moisture, another band of moisture, and these two are going to pretty much converge. Let's get rid of that. That looks sus. As we bring this into motion, and you can see how that kind of converges into one sort of plume of moisture, and that is the fuel for a heavy rain. You can see how it comes from deep into the tropics. This is New Caledonia. If you don't believe me, look, there it is. That's where the model cuts off, but you can see this is coming from deep into the tropics, from the tropics and down into New Zealand. And as a consequence, we are going to get a lot of rain. Some of this rain is going to be quite heavy. So here we are again, early Tuesday morning, heavy rain across the top of the South Island. And where you see these pockets of purple and pink, that is where the heaviest rain is forecast to be. This is guidance now. It's not gospel. So this, will change a bit. But the theme will not, and that is heavy rain across the top of both islands, South Island and North Island. We do have to concern ourselves with the top of the South Island because this is where, as we all know, there's been a lot of heavy rain over the past month or so, and the ground is quite saturated. Now, thankfully, we had about a 10-day period or so of really dry weather, so that has certainly helped to kind of, buy some time or buy some space to absorb this rainfall. But the rain is expected to fall quite heavily. And as a consequence, we are likely to see some impacts. In fact, our friends at MetService, just kind of zooming in here a little bit, friends at MetService are, and we look at their watches and warnings, these are orange warnings up here, right? Pretty much this entire top of the South Island. But there's some areas around south of Motueka, west of Nelson City, in this area where I'm pointing to right here, where there's a high chance of going to a red warning. And you can see why. Look, here's another way of doing this. We're going to go to our ensemble data. It's one of my favorite things to use. So what we're doing is we're looking at the probability. This is more of a probabilistic forecast. In this case, what are the odds for getting more than 100 millimeters over, say, a 30-hour period? So just over a day, right? Just over a day. And so what this is saying from 1 a.m. Tuesday through into 1 a.m. Wednesday, well, that's 30 hours, Chris. So this is saying from 7 p.m. Tuesday to 1 a.m. Wednesday, 30 hours, you can see there's a 100% chance of getting more than 100 millimeters of rain, right? And you can see how that's the case, kind of zooming in for the Richmond Ranges, the Bryant Ranges, if not 100%, certainly, 75, 80% or so, but certainly across the Tasman district, those higher elevations, that's where some very heavy rain is likely. You can see why that risk for a red warning is high for areas kind of west of Motueka. Yeah, you can see in this region right here, heavy rainfall. In fact, what we can do, watch this. We're going to do this in real time. You're going to see how the sausage is made, so to speak. So we can change this threshold from 100 millimeters to 200, right? Now, it's going to say 100, but ignore that. So you can see how that changes. Still looking at look, that zooming in, that area, we're talking yellow to even some orange. So about a 1 in 2 chance, 50% chance we could go higher than 200 millimeters. So I know what you're thinking, but Chris, it says 100 here. Okay, all right, let's fix that. There. Now, it says 200. Is that better? There. So this is an area of concern right in this region for the heaviest rain. Over 200 millimeters of rain. There's around or maybe just a more than 50% chance in a relatively small area, mind you, right? So this is where the greatest probability for flooding and high impact, landslips, and you can see again why our friends at MetService are considering that that red warning a high probability. I'm going to drop this down back to 100 millimeters, so bear with me while we do this in real time. There's 100, right? And then we're going to change this so people don't get confused because I don't want any people yelling at me. I get that enough. 100 millimeters, so there we go. Let's get rid of that. So putting a bow around this, I do want to mention, before we go on to the North Island, there is another component, and that is the wind. So the wind is likely to be quite strong. Let's put the wind gust on here across the top of the South Island. And some of these wind gusts, so this is Tuesday morning at 6 o'clock, some of these wind gusts could come close to 100K. And with winds that strong, the ground's so wet, it does increase the odds for tree damage. So, I mean, if you've done any gardening or weeding when the ground is wet, those weeds just pluck right up quite easily, right? Just not too dissimilar. You notice, too, as you go farther north, some strong wind forecasts about Taranaki, about the Munga. And not only will there be strong wind, there will be heavy rain. There you can see that there. So let's use this as an opportunity to pivot to the North Island. So heavy rain likely across the Taranaki region too. They had flooding a few weeks ago, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I do think that's in play this time as well. There will be a lot of rain forecast for that region. You can see, holy smokes. Yeah, I don't know if we'll get over 400 millimeters of rain. That may be the model being a little bit overzealous, a bit heavy-handed. But look, even if half that fell, 200, 300 millimeters of rain, it's in play, and that could result in flooding. Let's go a little farther north. Let's go toward, let's see here, I'll switch models. I do want to go to the far north. We're going to start off in Northland because in Northland, they're likely to see some really heavy rain as well. So here it is. Backing things up a little bit. This is 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, and you can see the heavy rain getting into the far north. I don't know if I'd set my watch to this, but just know if you have plans to be out and about in Northland Tuesday morning, particularly the far north, it's going to rain hard, all right? And the rain will be falling in the Waikato and the Bay of Plenty, the Coromandel, and in Auckland, maybe even a bit heavy at times, but I think the real concern comes later in the day. Look at that. That is an area of very heavy rain that is likely to impact Northland. The weather does improve in Northland around sunset-ish, so that's good news. From the north to the south, that improvement will kind of move its way through. But there is a reality where we see this heavy rain impacting, 1.3 million people, i.e. the Auckland region, immediate Auckland metropolitan area, during the rush hour. And if that happened, that would certainly elevate the impact because it's one thing if it rains super hard at 5:30, 6:30 in the evening. It's a completely different thing if it rains super hard at 8:30, 9:30 in the evening. I think we all can agree on that. And that is the concern. It's a bit unclear right now, but it's certainly, using that term again, in play. And that'll continue into the Waikato, the Coromandel. And another area of concern is over toward Rotorua, over toward areas toward interior portions of the Bay of Plenty. In fact, I want to show you something. I want to go back to that ensemble if I can. Where'd it go? Here we go. Right, so we have the odds of, not that one, Chris. The odds of 100 millimeters or more over 30 hours, so just over a day. And this, first of all, let's start in Taranaki, okay? We'll have fun with Taranaki, so to speak, in a minute, because I'm going to be adjusting that number to see how much, how high can we go and still see some color. So here's your color bars. Always mind your color bar. The cool colors are lower odds, and the warmer colors are higher odds for a certain threshold, which is at the moment 100 millimeters. So, yeah, you can see high probability there. We'll circle back to Taranaki. Let's start in Northland because that's where we were. And this is a 30-hour period. So if we try to find the period so this is saying roughly from 7 o'clock Tuesday evening to 1 o'clock Wednesday morning-ish. If there's going to be more than 100 millimeters, it'll likely be in this region up here across the far north, maybe around in north by northwest of Whangarei, maybe near the Bay of Islands, Kerikeri, maybe near there. But also notice it's distinctly possible in the Auckland area. Look at that. I mean, that is pretty impressive to see that amount of rain on an ensemble. And you can see over toward the Coromandel, high probability for more than 100 millimeters in just over a day. Look, Auckland gets about 140 millimeters of rain during the month of July. That's a normal July. Some areas will see half to maybe just as much of that in about 8 hours. I said some areas. And the best chance for that to happen is probably in this zone. So anywhere in this zone where you see coloring, look, a low chance is not zero chance. And I'll tell you why there's some credence to this potential outcome. But if there's going to be any problems with regards to flash flooding, it's likely to be where you see some of this coloring. So let's go farther south. You can see high probability for more than 100 millimeters of rain over a 30-hour period over the Coromandel, over Aotearoa, over much of the lakes area of over toward the Bay of Plenty, interior Bay of Plenty. Now, I did say we can toy the numbers, so let's do that. Let's toy with the numbers. And what we're going to do here is we're going to say, what about 150 millimeters of rain? How does that change things? And you can see, wow, there is a zone right in here. Keep that in mind. This area right here. What the heck? Let's do it now. Let me show you something. This is what kind of gives me a bit of pause. I certainly am not, wanting this outcome. So this is the odds for more than 150 millimeters of rain, right? And you can see it's a State Highway 1 corridor. Now, if I go back to a different model, what do you know? Doesn't that, you see how there is a stripe of heavy rain right along kind of State Highway 1 from Wellsford to the North Shore, Albany, kind of the CBD, Pukekohe, just west of Huntley. You see that? Well, when I see that and I see this, which looks kind of the same, it's the same location. Again, that's 150 millimeters, so ignore that. It's 150. It does kind of lend credence to something like that happening on Tuesday. This would be Tuesday, sort of afternoon and evening. You can see how quickly that fills in. I mean, just, if I go like this, if I put a couple points here, arbitrarily, you can see how we go from 10, 15, 20 millimeters of rain to over 100 by midnight. Not even midnight, 11 o'clock at night Tuesday, right? So this is telling me that the risk for flash flooding is something we got to think about. Right, let's go back to that ensemble model. Jumping around a little bit here, hopefully I'm not lost you. So what are the odds for more than 150 millimeters? Let me change our title because I don't want people upset with me. We've already established that. So odds for 150 millimeters or more than I should say. You can see the odds are certainly there over the Bay of Plenty, over toward around and just north of Rotorua, over toward the Coromandel Peninsula, about the ranges, and also, as I said before, around the State Highway 1 corridor, something that's worth watching. Now, what about 200 millimeters? Is 200 millimeters something we have to worry about? I mean, these are just we're leveraging an 18-member ensemble, which is 18 different outcomes. So we're just considering the 18 outcomes, I suppose. So what about 200 millimeters? And you can see there still is some color. Gosh darn it, near Whangarei. That looks like a lightning bolt, but it actually is some data. So we're going to call this 200 so everyone can be on the same page together, right? Let's go farther south. Well, that's good. We don't really see a signal. Oh, we do, actually. Take that back. So between, say, Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, yep, Bay of Plenty. Certainly, I mean, look, that's more than two. Look, that's about a 1 in 4 chance for exceeding 200 millimeters of rain in 30 hours. About a 1 in 4 chance south of Whakatane, around the Aotearoa area, a little bit north, a little bit east. Yeah, that's something. You remember Taranaki? Let's go there. Look at that. Yeah. Not a 1 in 4 chance, maybe a 1 in 10 chance of getting more than 200 millimeters of rain there. What about the top of the South Island? Oh, yeah, look at that. We saw that. Yep. So, look, there is certainly heavy rain coming. I think the ensemble modeling did a good job of sort of highlighting those problem areas. And as I mentioned before, we have to watch for this band of heavy rain that's forecast to move through sometime during the late, probably afternoon or evening hours. This could produce some very strong wind, very heavy rain, so we'll have to watch for wind damage. As I mentioned, throwing on the wind gust, you can see some good northeasterly winds, even some pockets of red, which is 100K wind gusts. Irrespective if we hit 80, 90, or 100K, it's going to be up there. And with the wet ground, as I mentioned, that does increase the odds for things like tree damage because of that wet ground. And the same is true, as I mentioned, over toward the top of the South Island with those stronger wind gusts. I guess you may be wondering, is there any good news, Chris? Well, the rain will come to an end. That won't be till Wednesday. Here you can see we'll get into showers will still be around. It'll still be kind of a wet day with showers around much of the North Island Wednesday and the western South Island on Wednesday. And then we'll have to watch for a second weather system. So this is Thursday morning, and what I'm doing here is I'm shifting our view. There we go. I'm shifting our view to the north and west. You see this right here where I'm pointing? That's low pressure. It's unclear exactly how that's going to behave, but if we go to our global model, we get a little bit of an indication. So there it is right there. There's Thursday morning, as I was showing you before. And watch as that moves east. It should go to our north, but boy, it's a close shave. I mean, just look at that. Very close. So we'll have to watch for more rain on Friday. Right now, the greatest odds would be Northland, Auckland region. The far upper part of the North Island would have the best chance. I think dry weather returns for the top of the South Island, which is good news. So the top of the South Island, I should mention the worst of your weather, just going back to there super quick, the worst of your weather is going to be during the day on Tuesday. So eventually Tuesday around sunset, the rain does ease, maybe even ends. But basically from, much of Tuesday, if not the entire daylight period of Tuesday, it's going to rain very hard. But after that, we should see a break in the action and at least a bit of a break with any, more heavy, widespread rainfall once we get past Tuesday evening. We'll have to watch Sunday. Another low to our west, or Monday, I should say. Another low to our north and west. There it is right there. Sunday evening. That may bring some rain to the far northern parts of the country, to be confirmed. So hang in there. Stay on top of the warnings with MetService because some of those may go red. I know Rotorua and the Bay of Plenty, there's a moderate chance of that happening and a high chance of going red across portions of the top of the South Island. I think that's west of Motueka, potentially. And those impacts could be quite significant. And we'll watch the Auckland area as well in the afternoon and evening for that really thin band of heavy rain. So that's it from me. I'm Earth Sciences meteorologist Chris Brandolino. We'll see you next time. Ngā mihi nui.